Welcome to the first episode of Meet the Retired. Today you're going to meet Janine. She's a retired Army service person and administrative law judge. She lives in Hayward, California. And here she'll share some smart money moves, like the fact that she has a coffee mug with a compound interest chart printed on it. She'll tell us about some mistakes she's made along the way. She also shares what she would tell her younger self, and she has some advice for those preparing for retirement. So, Janine, let's start by setting the scene. How did your retirement come about?
Well, I worked for the federal government, and I'd always wanted to retire as soon as I was eligible. Around that time, I started to realize that the pace of things was slowing down, and I wasn't enjoying work as much. So it was a good time to transition. In the end, although I had hoped to retire when I was 55 or 56 after I got my administrative law position, I needed to stay for a certain amount of time to be able to retire with a higher pay grade.
Yeah.
So I ended up retiring in February of 2022 when I was 58 to take full advantage of that.
That makes sense. So what does retirement look like for you these days? Is it different from what you might have expected?
Yeah. We ended up buying a vacation home in Arizona near our grandchildren. We have two.
Okay.
So we come to Arizona a few times a year, which I hadn't expected, but it's been great. I've been to the elementary school so many times now. I feel like I know the Pledge of Allegiance better than I did when I was in school. I recently signed up to do volunteer work through the VA.
Oh, nice.
Plus, in college, I was a member of an historically Black sorority, and I reached out to start doing volunteer work with them again. I've also traveled quite a bit. This year, I went to Mexico for a week and stayed with a woman who I've been taking online Spanish classes with. I also went to Asia with a friend, traveling to Seoul, the Philippines, and Thailand.
Nice.
And although I've managed to be somewhat social, we don't have a lot of connections in Arizona since we don't live here full time. And that has been difficult for me.
Yeah.
I miss that daily social interaction. I like people, and I've always liked interacting with my colleagues. Seeing those people every day and having that daily purpose has been something that I've really missed.
Right.
The other thing I've realized is that my technology skills are not up to par. I just bought an iPad, and I know I'm going to have to take classes to get the most out of it. When you're in the workplace, you're forced to use new technology. And not that I was a techie before, but now I really feel the lack of that knowledge. It's something I have to actively work on.
Oh, you and me both. So how did you prepare to cover your expenses in retirement?
A couple of ways. First, I participated in the federal government's pension plan. They have the standard pension plan you get when you work a certain number of years, and then something called the Thrift Savings Plan, which is the equivalent of a 401k with a match.
Right.
Then when I was 27 or 28, I started working with a financial planner, setting aside a certain amount of money in a mutual fund product. And one day, a man came to the base and he was offering a free spaghetti dinner in exchange for learning about this other investment program.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I went, got my free dinner, and started investing with that company. Initially, it was about $25 a pay period, and I increased that amount to eventually about $750 a month. That, plus doing my pension plan with a 5% match, was one avenue. I also did the Army Reserves, where you earn money for your time and get a military reserve retirement account.
Okay.
With all my pension money, I haven't had to touch my investment account yet. I anticipate I'll probably end up taking money out of there to be able to do additional travel at some point. But for now, I've been comfortable. Because I was active duty military for so long, I also qualify for VA disability benefits. So that's how my plan worked. Basically, trying to max out as much as I could, working to get as many benefits as I was eligible for.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Janine, what would you have told your younger self about life in retirement?
I think I would have told my younger self to be aware of the power of compound interest And I still show the young people in my life the mug my financial advisor gave me that has a chart explaining compound interest on it.
Love that. Love that.
And of starting to put something aside young. I probably should have put more in when I was younger. I don't feel like I'm hurting financially, but when I've talked to young people, such as interns in our office, I've told them to start young. Another thing I would have told my younger self is to do a side hustle. For me, my military reserves ended up being a side hustle. If you can try to use that money for your fun, extra stuff, then you're not taking that expense from your daily income.
No, that's a great idea. So finally, Janine, what advice would you give others who are currently preparing for retirement?
Depending on your personality, I would tell people to consider their community after retirement.
Yeah.
If you're an introvert, you may be perfectly happy not interacting with people. But if you're not, then that change impacts you.
Right.
In Arizona, I have a Pilates class I go to, but that's pretty much it. We're not there enough to make lasting relationships. I also think I grew up in a time of more delayed gratification. I think young people nowadays aren't willing to do that as much. They want bachelorette parties in Spain when they can probably find a good place in the States.
Right.
Just to be more mindful of their future. I'm comfortable, but maybe if I had started investing at $100 instead of $25, maybe I'd be in a different place.
All right. Thanks, Janine. Stay tuned for episode 2 of Meet the Retired.